Last Exorcism Part 2.
Now, remind us where we were with The Last Exorcism.
Well, it wasn't finished. I mean, it was the finality of it was not final enough. Because the interesting thing about Last Exorcism is when it was originally announced, I remember David Cox talking about this in Cannes. It was originally announced under the name Cotton, and it was a very sort of evocative name. And David said he just literally saw that one word, thought that's a horror film. And of course, it was a found footage movie about somebody who had been an exorcist doing what they had was going to be the last exorcism, in which they demonstrated all the tricks of the trade. How it was that you basically bamboozle and bondoogle people into believing that what you're doing is magic and spiritual. In fact, all it is a little bit of ooga booga, and it's what.
No, I just said so. Ooga booga. Are you bondoogling people?
Yes,
with
your
a bit
ooga
of ooga booga.
Yes. And I've got the rocking pneumonia in the Boogie Woogie Blues, and of course the
is that on that new album?
Which we're not going to talk about, Judy.
Oh, no, that's true.
I'm wondering whether it counts as a plot spoiler if I now tell you what happened at the end of. In order to talk about Last Exorcism Part 2, I'm afraid I have to plot spoil the end of the Last Exorcism. So in the
I don't think anyone cares.
Okay, fine. If you don't want to know about Last Exorcism, turn off now. So at the end of the Last Exorcism, after a film which was basically a really interesting idea about taking apart all that, and had some genuinely scary moments in it, and it was good. It was a very decent 80-minute movie, which was ruined by a stupid last act. In the case of this, you've got a very decent last act ruined by a stupid 80-minute movie before it. So it's like, that's interesting. If you maybe put the two halves together, you can make one movie. What you've actually got for most of it is this just terribly perfunctory, we did the thing once and it made more money than we expected. So what are we going to? How are we going to do it? So the story is now having gone through the thing which happens at the end of the Last Exorcism, in which it suddenly goes all Rosemary's Baby and Devil's Reign with a bit of Cannibal Holocaust thrown in and totally loses the plot. Now she's living in a home for recovering troubled girls in a sort of halfway house. She's trying to get her life back on track. She's trying to convince herself that the devil thing is not real at all, and she'd be making a perfectly fine job of it were it not that her demons keep coming back to haunt her, even in a church. Here's a clip.
Please, Lord. Please.
Never hurts to ask for help. Day after day, when you know you can't win, you're just putting off the inevitable. What good comes from resistance when all you have to do is ask for his love? Let him into your heart. See all that fight and that resistance? Just seems so wasteful now, doesn't it? It's all right, child. He's patient. And you can't run from him. After the fall comes the rise, and he has great plans for you.
Sorry, sir, can you please let me go?
There's no place you can go. There's no place he won't follow you.
I like those that little noise that was at the start and the beginning and the end of that clip.
Yeah, this sort of noise in the background. But
for deep synth noise.
But for a deep synth noise. But for an awful lot of it, it is quite bang, quite bang. The press notes have got for Last Exorcism Part 2 come with fascinating facts about exorcism. 42% of Americans believe in possession by the devil. The Catholic Church has at least 10 official exorcists in the US. There are dozens of references of Jesus exorcising demons in the Gospels. What it doesn't have is the most key thing about key fact about exorcism is any film with the word exorcist in it. Part 2 is rubbish, and
is that just one of the laws?
It is one of the laws. Yeah. Funnily enough, if they wait long enough and make Part 3, the chances are it'll be slightly better, but it'll be ruined by Morgan Creek, who will recut it and put a whole bunch of special effects into it. So it's all the way through the film, because it kind of remembers the first film. It keeps having what look like being interesting ideas and then just completely forgetting about them. It has an interesting idea, it forgets about them. It has an interesting idea, it forgets about them. Then at the very end of the film, it has an interesting idea, it sticks with it and ends. It's like literally the minute it has an interesting idea that it can hold on to, it goes, okay, we've got to stop now because this runs completely contrary to the rest of the film. There's also a moment in it in which the key character comes into a room when people are doing this, watching stuff online. What are they watching online? They're watching The Last Exorcism. Online, mock doc footage of the thing that she says, what is that? That's not me. That's that. And somebody says, oh my God, it's amazing. Somebody says, it's amazing, that kind of contortion thing you do with your body. You think, yeah, that was amazing. I quite like that bit about the film. And terrible, terrible, terrible thing. If you're making a naff sequel to a film, some of which people don't put a bit in that reminds them how much they like the first one. So, as I said, first one, good film, rubbish ending. This rubbish film, passable ending. But it is literally like the minute the film has any idea that is interesting to which it can hold on, it stops.